everybody, and good afternoon, and welcome in to Good Afternoon Michigan Football on this Wednesday. Time to talk about some Michigan football, and I'll look back to this past week, got some, I'd say, house cleaning about a couple things that went on at the end of that game that we have some more clarity on, and I wanted to get a final word on. Also, we will look forward ahead to Saturday with the number one team in college football coming into Ann Arbor. Also, the team that has the odds-on favorite right now to win the Heisman Trophy under center. So we'll get to that. Then we'll look at some of the possibilities and why Michigan might be able to pull some upsets and how things have worked out this year in college football. And that's the way it would go. But I wanted to start with it's not a question out of left field, but it was a conversation that was going on the Den, on the Maize and Blue Review. And, every day I tell you, I urge you, I give you the opportunity to say you're a Michigan fan and you want to consult and you want to hang out, you want to talk back and forth with other Michigan fans, and then you want to see everything that's going on in recruiting and everything else. I say join the Maize and Blue Review by going to michigan.rivals.com. That's still happening. I want to see you do that. But there was a discussion last night, and I was saying how I like the college football season with the 12-team playoff and how there might be 10 teams that could win it all, and look at the conference championship games. Pretty exciting. Then there's some new teams that are in and like Indiana that are generating some excitement. And someone came back and said, I can't stand looking at the standings, with Michigan being out of it. And then there was, complaining about how there's commercials all the time during the games and how they're going to put advertising, and all of that. And, there's a point to all of that. Sure. I mean, and there's also a point to, can you still get some enjoyment out of the Michigan football season, even though they have 3 losses? And the answer is a little bit. Not really. There's nothing like we've seen it and experienced it over the last 3 years. There's nothing like being up at the top of the standings and thinking about winning the Big Ten, and then of course the national championship and the college football playoffs. And you spring out of bed each morning and you look to the sky and and everything's going great. You're smiling and you're so happy. Well, then you get a season like this. It's inevitable that it's going to happen, and then you just got to deal with it. And so you're not way up on your sky high, you're just on the ground. And so how can you get any enjoyment out of it? Well, it's still, I try to remind myself, it is still football. And I think about the off season where all of us are, you're counting down the days. Oh, I just can't wait. And of course, you hadn't lost any games at that point. So, you get all of that. Maybe you have to trick yourself a little bit. And you say, oh, well, this is the future. Look at this guy. And hey, maybe they're going to pull the up, little things. And I'm not telling everybody, to put that, big grin on your face. Feel like that, the Joker, Joaquin Phoenix, putting on his makeup, trying to smile, talking about the season. If you go to the games, it would be going to the game this Saturday and tailgating, hanging out with your friends. That's still, you're going to get the enjoyment out of that. Then you go in and then you never know. I mean, it's different. And you're down to that. You never know about being able to pull the upset. And then, that would be a lot of fun. But you can say all of that and it can still affect you. I know this over the years. Let's just say that the Ohio State Penn State game was tomorrow night instead of at noon. Michigan plays Oregon. It doesn't go well, and they end up on the wrong side of the score. You might think that that's probably going to happen. They're a 14.5-point underdog. It could very well happen. Well, after that, you don't really feel like, or I never have felt like, let's really get into and watch watch the nightcap. Oh, what a great game! Or college football. Woo, Ohio State, Penn State. Big smile on your face or something. You're not going to have a smile on your face. You might sit there and watch it, but the enjoyment level after a loss is just way down there. So you can't really do anything. So the answer about can you still enjoy the Michigan season, or how do you do it, or can you still enjoy the college football season? It's not the same. It's not. So blowing smoke or trying to prop everyone up. It's with Michigan in it, everything's bright, the colors, and it's 100 out of 100. With Michigan not into it, it's down, it's the bottom of the barrel, and you just do whatever you can to, try to enjoy the season. Before the last 3 years, and this is the part that you don't want, you get used to it. You get used to the disappointment, and so then if you're going to watch, you're going to other games. You constantly. I don't think you constantly have your head down, although at times you do, but you just kind of get used to that. I remember when the Tigers were really bad, and I would have to go down, and after they were really good, then they were really bad. It was such a difference. You wanted to go to a game, they just pull right up. No traffic, you just roll right in. Parking was really cheap. Game tickets were really cheap. You could pretty much sit anywhere you wanted. You want to go to the bathroom, you walk right in. There's the lines. Walk in, walk. And on the way home, when everyone's leaving, it didn't matter. You get out. There might be 5,000 people at the game. You're home like that. Now you trade all of this. It's very convenient. You trade all of that to have your team in the mix. So I just wanted to say that it was, there was, I don't want to say Debbie Downers. There's just people that when I was like, yeah, it's a great college football season with the new rule changes and with the new teams in the Big Ten. And the guy was like, no, it's not. Kevin, this was like, I don't like flying all over the country. That isn't good. The money that's said here, the commercials, it's like, yeah, I get that. I really focus on all of the negative things and the things that you're ticked off about when Michigan isn't in the limelight or they're in the situation that they are. However you do it, you got to come to terms with it and do all that. I'm going to take some feedback, and then I will talk about what I learned from that game on Saturday, Oregon, and the possibility of an upset. That is all straight ahead. Scott is talking about honoring J.J. McCarthy. Are they doing that? I thought they were, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I thought maybe there was some fun being had on the internet about that. Scott also saying it was smart to pick up Dillon Gabriel in the transfer portal, even though they have a sophomore in Dante Moore. Yeah, I've watched Oregon a few times this year. Of course, Dillon Gabriel, I watched him at Oklahoma, Central Florida before that. I'm watching the Ducks wideout, and I'm like, oh, this Tez Johnson, this guy, you could just see it. He's an NFL wide receiver. He's awesome. It's like, where'd they get him? Oh, Troy, transfer portal. Gary Danielson, as I'm looking that up, says, Oregon and Dan Lanning across their entire secondary in the back four, all of these guys are transfers. Like, they really rung the bell when it came to the transfer portal. And we've seen that at Michigan when they've gone in there, not this past year, but the year before. The transfer portal was, was awesome. Scott coming right back and looking at the state game, and I am going to do that too. Why don't we just do that right now? Now this is the athletic director you're talking about. He's saying that the AD from MSU should have waited before making some statements. There's a few people that should have waited to make a statement. The athletic director wanted the Big Ten to look at the tape to see what was determined there. I don't really have any. I didn't have any problems with what the athletic director said. Now, there's a few people in the media that cover Michigan State, and look, they're just, they are in the media and they are actually working for newspapers, but they play to the fan base. There's a lot of Michigan people that cover Michigan do the same thing. I mean, it doesn't matter what happens. I mean, they are just playing up to State, and they are just like they're just big time fans, and they're writers, and that just happens. We see it with Michigan too. And what you've learned and what I've talked about is that most of you like it that way. You like the Michigan fans to have a Michigan slant, and Michigan State fans, they like their writers to have a Michigan State slant. Now, talking about things that you didn't see and making it seem like it happened, like a couple of those guys did, that they should have waited. But it's hard. If I would have got on, like by now, so we know what happened. The Big Ten looked at the video evidence and they said it was inconclusive on there being, and specifically, it was Khalil Mullings, because I watched the video just like you, and I couldn't really tell what Khalil Mullings was doing. He had his hands, and it was a huge scrum, and his legs were going, but you didn't know what was going down there on the ground. But a few of these writers who are supposed to be able to separate themselves from being fans, well, that's a stomp. Well, no, it wasn't. But that's, again, I think that's the if it's a danger, I don't know if it's a danger, but that's one of the issues that you have when you just have fans covering the game. I mean, nothing wrong. People are, there's nothing wrong with being a fan, but having that separation, I think we saw it. What I will go back to is that I said, I don't know if I said it on the air, but I wrote it on the Maize and Blue Review, that it didn't matter who started the pushing and shoving afterwards. It wasn't a good look, and we had to wait and see what they're going to be able to determine. And I had somebody, I don't know, did they call me soft or weak? I think they're calling me, and some others like, hey, there was somebody on here Monday saying, what are you doing? Take up for Michigan. You sound like a Sparty or something like that. I mean, whatever, which is fine. I have no problem. I almost expect Michigan fans, if I'm not, towing the Michigan company line, to come after me. I don't have a problem with that. But after watching Scar break down the tape, Jim Scarcelli, on Monday, when I originally saw it, I just saw a Michigan State guy coming across the line. I saw Loveland get upset, kind of lean in with his helmet. I didn't think it was a headbutt. And then my thing was, I thought maybe they should look at a rule where you have to wait for the official to say, give the all clear before the sidelines just converge at the end of the game. And I still think that they should look at something like that. It's the same thing with the crowd coming down and rushing the court. There should be I know it does take away from the crowd just freelancing and going down there, and it's a great moment. I still think you could have that, but there should be at least 2 minutes or 3 minutes to allow and it could even be 5 minutes to allow the opponents to exit the field in a timely manner, to be able to do that. I've thought that in basketball. I've thought that in football. Somebody will get hurt. I don't want to see it happen, but I think that will happen over the next a couple of years, and they'll do it then. They should do it now, but they don't. And I think in situations like with Michigan and Michigan State, where tensions are so high, people are just waiting for something, almost everything that you can do to try to eliminate a situation where it's going to have a bunch of people in there, they should do that. Now, having said all of that, Anthony Jones, number 8, was at the end of the game. Michigan State did not have any more timeouts. Michigan was in victory formation. They just had to snap the ball, and the game was over. And there's a certain etiquette that is followed there. But I have seen a lot of times the opponent, even when they don't have any timeouts, They still are clinging on to, they're going to still submarine and they're going to try to bat the ball out. And almost every time after that, there's pushing and shoving that ensues. And that was kind of what I was thinking was happening. But after further review, number 8, not just fired off the ball, but the thing, he put you're not allowed to, you can't do it on offense and you can't do it on defense. They throw a flag. We see it almost in every game. Hands to the face, defense, hands to the face, offense. They get there. That was a clear foul. So I don't put Colston Loveland, even though there were others that were saying that it was a headbutt, it was close to that, but he was mad because the dude fouled him at the end of the game when there was just a snap and he wasn't even going in by the ball. So I just wanted to say that all of the information that had been gathered, that's how I see it now. I thought that Michigan State, they did clearly start it. Other than up to that point, almost by all accounts, it was a game played with fine sportsmanship on both sides with the players until that final play. And so Jones, that was a Bush League move. And if Jones was wearing the maize and blue and the shoe was on the other foot, I would say the exact same thing. So it was a Bush League move by Michigan State. I don't fault Loveland at all. And then when you get a bunch of people out there and pushing and shoving, you never know what's going to happen there. And I don't know what happened there, but the video is inconclusive, and I think we can move on. I'm moving on. So that's what I wanted to say. I had a couple last things that I wanted to put out there about that. Let me take some of the feedback before we talk about Oregon and some upsets. We have GS saying we need to tackle better what's going on this year. I think if I could explain it, that the defense isn't as good. They don't have the same personnel as they did last year. That's one thing. And they have a new coordinator. And Wink's defense, how he has changed things up, I think, and this is just my opinion on it, that going back to before the season, when Makari Page, Michigan's captain and safety, was asked about, well, this is the same defense, right? Wink's just taking over. What's the transition like? And Makari Page said, everything's different. Everything that we do is different when it comes down to that. And, there were follow-ups like, hey, I thought this was supposed to be the same thing. He said, no. And then after the Texas game, where Michigan's defense was embarrassed and got run off the field, after that game, Makari Page said, yeah, we had communication issues. And then after the bye week, Makari Page was talking about, well, we just worked on our angles. And all of that to me was code where they just weren't familiar with the scheme and communication issues where they changed the verbiage. I put that on Wink. I don't think Wink should have done that. I think he should have kept the same verbiage. I think he should have not changed as much to try to get this team to come together on the defensive side. I don't know why you have to do that. I understand if you've got a horse, I was going to say horse crap. Yeah, horse crap defense. Let's say Michigan was really bad, bottom of the barrel, and they brought in a new defensive coordinator. Yeah, change things up. I mean, it wasn't working before, but it was working before. So I didn't really see why that was necessary for Wink to do that. Oh, Wink wanted to come in and he wanted things run how he was going to run things, and he did that. And I think that's why the defense has not been as good. That's why guys have been out of position. That's why guys have taken bad angles. That's why there's been poor communication. And part of that is going to be the tackling. So I don't know. James says beat the Ducks and the Bucks and it would be great. Well, if Michigan beats the Ducks, I then expect them to beat the Hoosiers. And if Michigan beats the Ducks and the Bucks, I'm expecting them to win the last 4, which would actually have them winning the last 5. And if they did that, it would feel like a miracle, but a great, like a sports miracle. We just saw one with the Tigers this year, I guess. And so sports miracles happen. If I could take the Bucks or the Ducks, I would pick the Bucks. But since it's the Ducks this Saturday, beating the Ducks who beat the Bucks might make you think that Michigan could then beat the Bucks. So maybe you take a bird in the hand or a win in the hand before you have to worry about, the end of this season kind of thing. So that's it. A couple more on the feedback before I get more into the Ducks. A-Train can absolutely get enjoyment after a few losses. A team doesn't always have to win or be on the top in order to be a fan. Yeah, it's right, but you could say all that and it still hurts. It reminds me of when the Pistons and the Red Wings are in the playoffs. They're in the playoffs, you're watching those games, and then watching the other series, I watch them anyways, but man, I really watch with a lot more interest. It was like the baseball playoffs this year. Yeah, I watched the World Series last night. I'll watch again tonight. But when the Tigers were winning in the wild card and they won the next round, man, I was watching every second of like every series out there. Like, this is great. I think most people are probably like that. Here's Hadley saying it wasn't just Hallett. A few media writers for Moo U made similar comments about Saturday night, just judging things too fast. Yeah, Hadley, they did. Not only judging them, I looked at that tape and with a melee and everything, trying to say somebody punched somebody or stomp someone, even if it looks like that, you can't, you have to say to yourself, this is what I see. And if it's inconclusive for you, saying that there was a stomp, it was, sure, being a homer, like, hey, I'm picking Michigan State, or, Michigan's got a blue wall. If you're covering the Spartans, there's nothing more that Spartan fans want to hear than their writers sticking up for them because they feel like they're second-class citizens. They feel like they don't get the respect, obviously, here in the state of Michigan, but across the country, they're always feeling like that. And so their writers know that. They almost have to pump them up, but it gets into, bad form. You can even say worse than that when you're talking about things that you don't know about. And that's what happened with a couple of those guys. Couch being the one that I saw. I didn't, tick off every Sparty writer and, Comparoni. This would just be say, hey, what did Comp say? I don't know. I mean, if somebody came to me and said, this is what Comp said, and it totally seemed like, or he was blaming Jim Harbaugh, I'd say, oh, well, that's totally on brand for him. I don't know enough about Couch, but people were saying that's on brand for Couch, to play the Spartan card. I mean, it's a green and white. He's a green and white card carrier. And so there's a lot of media members that are like him. And the fans like it like that. And guys are having success being fans, being in the media. So, and I'm a fan. I just don't take it as far as, I try to stay professional about it. And I think that's where there's a line that has been crossed. And we saw the line crossed by Couch specifically. That was not a professional. He did not act like a professional this weekend. But hey, they didn't fire him. He didn't have to come out and issue any apologies. In fact, State fans were like, yeah, you're standing up for us. Good job, Graham. That kind of stuff. More on the feedback. Thomas is talking about the quarterback, the wide receivers, and the defense has been so-so thus far. Yeah, well, I agree with that. The quarterback play has been, totally subpar. It really has been a disaster. Now, last game, 0 turnovers. It's amazing what can happen. And then on that, is it the third series or fourth series? I have to go back. I think the fourth series, when they finally got 4 passes in a row, it was like Tuttle coming in, getting that TD field goal and touchdown when he came in. It was such a, wow, look at this kind of thing. So, but yeah, the defense has been so-so too. I'm not standing up for the defense. The defense The Illinois game was so tough. It was such a tough watch. But yeah, the defense wasn't all that bad against them. And after the first two drives against Michigan State, I would say they're okay. But then you have to look, how did they play against Washington? They played well against Minnesota and USC in the first half. The defense has been a disappointment from what we expected them to be. There's no cutting through that, but let's see how they do against Oregon. Number one team in the country, the Ducks, the Heisman Trophy winner. They got playmakers already, all over the place. Jordan James at running back, Tez Johnson. I was watched Oregon play Ohio State. The explosive plays that they have, both teams watching that particular game is like, these are these two teams, and here's Michigan. There's a huge gap. Now, you do understand how a season evolves. Like last week, Nebraska played physically and hung in there on the road with Ohio State. And Ohio State's offense does not look all that hot with all these great players that they have. That should be encouraging if you're a Penn State fan. It should be encouraging if you're a Michigan fan, but there's still the playmaking ability and the explosiveness. And that's what Oregon has. Watching them against Illinois last week, Gabriel was taking the snap, and he didn't have to worry about a sack. He was setting up shop, changing his clothes, camping out, looking around, going through 4 reads, coming back for another one, and then throwing it. That's how much time the guy had. He was getting 10 Mississippi back there, 10 dog. And it's supposed to be 1, 2, 3. He's getting 3 times the amount. Michigan's got to get a lot more pressure than what Illinois was able to bring last week. And so we'll find out about the so-so defense and the underperforming quarterback. I'm not ready. There were some bright spots for Davis Warren. Number one, he didn't throw the ball to the other team. He didn't fumble it away. And Michigan's offensive line didn't give up any sacks. They didn't commit any penalties. Now they've got, are we going to say the ultimate chance, at showing like, okay, all of that stuff and what we've done here. Yeah. Pull the upset if you can do it. RB is keeping it real. Michigan's got a chance right up until kickoff. James says our season will end early. Players will leave and we can jump in the portal sooner than we did last year. He wants to look at it that way. A little positive. I would still hope that they would be able to get to a bowl game, not just having a bowl game, which is nice, even if it's the Fleabag Bowl or whatever. You get those 15 practices. And if you don't make a bowl, you don't get those 15 practices. That hurts you for next year. So if I was outlining the goal, sure, beat the Ducks, beat the Bucks. But number one on that list is being bowl eligible. That's what they got to do. So that's it. Dakota, kid. Ducks have been gelling. It'll take a great effort, but I believe that's what, that's DK. Let's go. That's what you like to hear. RB says it was clearly a headbutt. Well, RB, I would say my definition of a headbutt and your definition of a headbutt are different. And I will play it out for you here. Am I going to be able to headbutt something? Okay. Let's go over here. Let's see how this works. Uh-oh. So I've got a basketball in my hand, and I will show you what a headbutt, what I would think would look like. Ouch. So I just slammed into the ball. This is what I thought Colston Loveland did. It's almost like mean mugging. He did put his helmet and went face to face with Jones, but he didn't headbutt him. And there's a difference there. And look, I'm not telling you, hey, I don't know if you played the game, but there's a difference. And while I'll say you have to look at it and you have to be fair-minded, and it's hard to do. I don't know if RBR, if you're a Michigan fan and you're saying it was clearly a headbutt, okay. I think I understand where when you're a fan and you don't want to discern or be fair, you just want to, say whatever makes you feel good because you're a fan. I can understand why state fans would say that, but I would also say that they're wrong about that. Loveland put his face and leaned in up there where he didn't lean back and, butt him like that. If I was in charge, like if I could dole out the fines or anything, I don't have any issue with what Colston Loveland did after he was fouled, putting his face into Jones. What is he supposed to say? Oh, see you next year. Now, yeah, it's I don't know what Sharon Moore, who said he addressed it, probably said, hey, next time we're going to make sure, we're just, even if they're being Bush League, we've got to turn the other cheek. I'm not exactly sure what he would say, but so I disagree with you. You saying it was clearly, in fact, it was close and it kind of looked like it, but I would say 100% it was not a headbutt. Rico is saying he's had enough changes to the sport. I don't need any more. I get that, but also you want to put in measures. You evolve, the sport evolves, and things that you can do to make it better. If you can just have an official, you have to wait on the sideline before you give the all go for everyone can spill in. That's not that big of a deal to me. Everybody can handle that. It's the same thing with the fans. You can say, well, it takes away from the fans being, just going out. The fans understand once the game is over that you have to wait for the safety. You want to put in safety measures. Like when I recall, I don't know how many years ago, 10 or 15 years ago, when they started putting in the targeting. And fans were like, come on, I want to see real football. I don't need to see guys lowering their head and crushing opponents like that. I never need to see that. And there is always a push, Rico, for people to say, oh, it's soft and everything else. It reminds me again in baseball when they were putting up the nets, everyone was like, this doesn't need to happen. It's like, everybody, and I'm not saying you're crying, Rico, but there's so many people that cried about that or cried about head, leading with your head and everything else. And then they make the change and then it's fine. I think to your point, it gets to, for me, when the quarterback, there's only a spot that you can hit him and you have to be really careful with the quarterback. It gets to a point and it can be very frustrating. You're like, there's nothing you can do. You're trying to tackle the guy and you're getting 15 yards. But you also understand it when you get a quarterback down, backup quarterback play is so horrendous. You understand the protection. Those guys are the game. All right. There's James. Let's see what Michael's saying. Dennis, you're sounding way too homerish with the Loveland talk. Yeah, well, Michael, I'm not trying to come off as a homer. I'm trying to come off as telling you exactly what I see and trying to be objective and training myself and being that way for 30 years in watching Michigan football. A lot of times to my detriment when I say things that people are like, stop criticizing Michigan. Why don't you go, work for Michigan State, things like that. Oh, in the end, at first, when I hear about, they started it, he started it, they started it, it gets, and so I was getting in a little bit of that. And I said, hey, the guy, but it was a Bush League. I think you have to do, Michael, to me, is you have to go back and say, Was that a what did you think of Jones firing off the ball and putting his hands into Loveland's face when 90 some percent of the time, when you're in that situation, no timeouts, the other team, everybody just stands there and then you shake hands and it's over. Other kind of things, you do see guys submarining in there trying to go after the ball. A rivalry, you do see guys firing off the ball. But not only did he fire off to the ball and he didn't go after the ball, but he had hands to the face. That is going to upset the apple cart. And that's where I have zero problem with what Loveland did. And pushing and shoving, I don't have a problem with pushing and shoving. Punching or stomping, which I didn't see any of. Now, Michael, I don't know like what you're saying here, because not all their stuff, you're using the crap emoji and being upset. So I didn't get it. Go Blue 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you think we get a portal quarterback or start Jaden Davis next year? Well, I hope they get Bryce Young. I hope they get Bryce Underwood. And I hope he's the starter next year, to tell you the truth. But if I had to guess, I know that's a true freshman starting. It could be a little dangerous, but I think that if I had to guess at who would be the starting quarterback next year for Michigan, I think it would be a portal quarterback, somebody that they get from the portal. I haven't written off Jaden Davis, but I don't like what I hear about Jaden Davis. I didn't like, if Jaden Davis isn't ready. Jaden Davis would prefer to redshirt. Jaden Davis this, Jaden Davis that. I'm going to have to see a little bit from Jaden Davis. I'm not, it sounds like I'm totally down on him, which I don't want to say that, but I'm a little bit down on it, the situation with Jaden Davis. Now, maybe Jaden Davis can come in and show a little something in some of these games remaining, but there's part of like the kid's a true freshman. I don't want to be too hard on him, but also I didn't like the Jaden Davis situation here. Johnny, I think you can be critical, but calling guys names, I don't think this is not the kind of show to do that. Send that somewhere else. There's no reason for that. Like with the job that Wink's doing, just say that. Name calling them doesn't really do any good. Record for the next 4 games. Well, I think that Michigan probably going to lose against Oregon, and I think they'll beat Northwestern, and I think they'll probably lose against Ohio State. So can they win at Indiana? Yeah, you're seeing 2-2. If I had to guess, I would say, I hate to say it, but I would say 1-3. DK says he lives in Eugene. He's sick of the arrogant Ducks. He wants this win badly. Yeah, I can get that. Andre's giving his opinion on the end of the game. I think that happens. Johnny's saying it's not that big of a deal. Yeah, I agree. It would have been a big deal if there was somebody down on the ground and one of the Michigan players put a cleat in their face. But we didn't have anybody come forward talking about I got a cleat in the face or I got hit with a cleat. Not yet. I would have thought that that's exactly what would have happened if somebody was on the ground and took whether it was a deliberate or errant size 18 to the face, you would say something. But since we didn't have that, and the closest thing you have is Loveland leaning into, it was a lot to do, not about nothing, but in the end, there wasn't any punches that I've, could determine. Again, I didn't come out with any of that. So pushing and shoving happens. That's it. This part about the defense not being as good despite having 3 potential first-round draft picks. Yeah, the defense is a disappointment. I don't know what else you want me to say. And, Will Johnson had the broken finger, then against USC, he screwed up his shoulder, and then he's got an ankle, and he hasn't been great this year, but he's been injured. it goes to show you need, even if you have premium talent and that kind of talent, you need it all to come together, and you need to be coordinated and all that kind of stuff. Thomas asking, if Underwood comes in, will the other quarterbacks transfer? Well, I would say that if I had to guess, that yes, that there would be a chance that all of them would transfer. But Jaden Davis, I don't know what his intentions are. He might just want to go to school and hang in there and love Michigan. And the same thing can be said to the other guys. I don't know. If you can get a chance where so Jaden Davis didn't want to compete this year, but next year he's going to want to, I guess. So I don't know about that. But yeah, like, get out there and compete now. See what you can do. Put your best foot forward. Here's my guy, FTM, who was after me a little bit Monday, which is all right. He said, who really thinks Michigan has any chance? Yeah, so you're down to a spot where if you're a single digit underdog, you say, you're at home, and what if this happens? And you kind of feel like you have a chance. They went on special teams and all that kind of stuff. But Michigan's a 15-point underdog. So this is a gigantic dog. So I think unless you're a Michigan fan who always picks Michigan and never considers anything else except a win, there's those fans. DK's from Eugene, Oregon. He's picking Michigan to win. Why not? There's nothing wrong with that. I'm saying you think they can pull the upset. I don't see anything. Oregon at the beginning of the year, you can say, hey, Boise State, kept it kind of close. I was saying that. Boise State, that's their only loss. They look pretty good. They're a pretty good team. The Oregon-Ohio State game, I mean, that I didn't come away from that game thinking, oh, yeah, Michigan's got a shot at pulling an upset with these two teams. I think the only thing you come away with is that anything can happen in college football. And you go to, I remember the beginning of the season, the first game was Georgia Tech and Florida State. Florida State, I don't know whether they've won one game, but they were a double-digit favorite. They lost. Notre Dame, pretty good team. Notre Dame was a 28-point favorite against Northern Illinois. 28-point favorite. And Notre Dame's pretty good, and they lost to Northern Illinois in the upset of the year. Alabama was the number one team in the country, and Vanderbilt was at home getting 18 points. And Vanderbilt won. So, if you say stranger, I don't think it would be a huge number one going down at this point in the season. It'd be a huge deal. Would it be the most shocking win for Michigan fans that has ever occurred if Michigan beat Oregon? No, I don't think so. I don't think it would be that shocking. It would be super surprising, but it wouldn't be like the most shocking thing ever. Let's say, when's the last time that Michigan pulled off an upset where they're a 15-point favorite? I don't know. I would have to look back. I know when they finally beat Ohio State, now 4 years ago, they were a 6-7-point underdog in that game, not a double-digit dog. So I would have to look when the last time was that they were a 15-point. Maybe somebody will know it, that they came back. So no, I don't think people. The chances is that Michigan's at home and they've underperformed, and maybe they got something now with Warren in terms of a passing game, but that's it. I don't feel like anybody's talking very strong in their conviction about Michigan being able to win this game. Let's take some more feedback. Michael, not looking forward to seeing Gabriel after what Ewers showed us. It could get ugly. I understand that. I feel that. Hadley says comp and couch. Mainly, I heard mentioning about Mullins stomping on a Moo U staffer, but nothing on tape came that. They should apologize, but they won't. Those guys, I think, comp and couch. I mean, that's exhibit one of media. I would not say that comp. He used to for 20 years work for what's rivals.com. He moved on a couple years ago to wherever he's at now, but these are fan sites and he's a fan. Comp is a fan, true and true. You rip off that little size medium shirt that he's wearing, and underneath there, it says fan, super fan. And hey, it's working great for him. So should I knock him for being a super fan? Not really. You take it's just back and forth, Michigan to Michigan State. He's a super fan. Now, Couch should show a little bit more professionalism, but even in the media now, even with the newspapers, Wojo used to put on a front that, hey, I don't really care what happens during the game, but people never believed him. And he sounds like a big Michigan fan. And, his nickname is MGO Bob. You're trying to tell me he's taking some like journalistic, and I do really think, a lot of that is an act that he puts on, and then he's kind of a professional when he is up, but whatever. I don't know who's not. I don't know who is an ultimate professional anymore, because the fans, that's what they want. They want you to say we and us and everything else, and it's worked. The Underwood talk is heating up again. Oh, it's at a fever pitch. There's no doubt about that. Michigan's back in it. And I'm just looking at it like this when it comes down to Underwood. I'm glad Michigan's back in it. I know Josh Henschke, he's on top of this recruitment for the Maize and Blue Review. I'm just enjoying the ride with it. If they get him, it would be great. The ride in that, if they have a situation, it's fun to follow a 5-star quarterback kid right around the corner. He could command $4 or $5 million. Even that Michigan's back in, it's a signal that they understand that the transformational days, it's about transactional now. And if you want a quarterback, you got to cough up these 7 figures. You might have to cough up 8 figures when it's all said and done. So, it's different now for Michigan. That's what I feel about it all. Michael says he didn't want us, not sold on him coming. I'm not sold on him coming either, Michael. And I think actually the biggest thing, and people can say things on every side, and I'm not talking to anybody in the family. I'm sitting back and watching this unfold. I saw Jaden Davis for the Commanders, #1 selling jersey, hottest, most popular player, one of the most popular players. What he's doing for the Commanders, he throws the Hail Mary, but even before that, and he looks like the next Lamar Jackson. He just shows you get a quarterback and what it can do for your franchise. And, the Commanders are now must-watch TV. That's going to be tough to beat to me. I'm Bryce Underwood, and I see Jaden Daniels every Sunday, and I see me being the next Jaden Daniels. That's going to be tough. And it doesn't hurt to have Brian Thomas Jr. look like the next Justin Jefferson. It doesn't hurt to have Malik Neighbors look like the next Jamar Chase. Right? Like those things, those are the things that are going to be tough to beat if the money's equal. And it looks like the money's going to be equal now. But Michigan's got the home court advantage, home field advantage, so maybe that means something. I don't James get a bowl game, not just the playoffs. I think he's not spelling it lowercase, uppercase a little bit to have some fun. We'll be 2-2, 2-2 in the next 4 at best. Yeah, I hear you. Smash, we're saying don't get hurt. There you go. There you go, Smash. We'll take a few. Mark getting in late says, P.S. Personal fouls by MSU captains year after year, and this game when none in the others. Yeah. Be careful. That was a gift from the Fab Five. This was a gift from my kids for Father's Day a couple of years ago. It's nice, though. I can tell. Oh, yeah. It is a nice. Now, it's bounced down. That is up in the corner here, Michael. You're talking about the Fab Five. There's a piece of the floor from when it was Chrysler Arena when the Fab Five played there, and so that piece of you see it up there in the upper left corner. That is a piece of the floor. I don't know how often they chop up the entire floor and then get a new one, but that one was there for the Fab Five. Smashers, don't panic to get Underwood. Better to pay 2 QBs half that amount. Yeah, I don't see it that way, Smash. I would say, but I don't panic. The Tennessee quarterback, Nico Liamaiava, got $8 million. That was 2 years ago. Now, I don't know if Underwood, if that's where it is. If I was in Underwood's camp, he could probably command 10 million. But if I'm going to be conservative, knowing about Liamaiava getting 8, I think it's going to take 6. And I don't know if that's panic. You do have to have, at one point, if it's not going to be a bidding war or wherever else, you talk to the Underwoods about the money and everything else, and you present your plan. It'd be very interesting to see what it would look like. But I'm guessing 6 million is going to be the starting point. And I don't think that's panicking. But if it comes back, you get the 6 million together, and it's like you're going to have to do 11. It's like, okay, we're out. At some point, I mean, that's how it goes. We're out. That's it. It's going to be like that. Let's we take these all day. Crazy seeing Michigan and the Lions offense back to back every weekend almost feels like 2 different sports. Yeah, and that's the part where if you're a fan. And I kind of wish, at times, I like watching the Lions. They're entertaining. I've covered them for many years and everything else. But I'm about a quarter of a fan that I see from like my friends that are Lions fans who have always been invested in this team, have lived and died with this team, and now they enjoyed last year so much, and they're enjoying this year. Like it is, it almost feels like the clowning on the Cowboys, the rolling over Tennessee. It is like it feels like a coronation even before it's happened. Everybody's enjoying it so much, and would I change it all? I don't think so. There was so much. I was so into it when I was young, and then I couldn't do it. I couldn't. I saw I don't think I would be here if I put in as much emotion with being a Lion fan as my friends, and then watching them year after year. Is just it took so much out of them. It was like being 1 year as being a Lion fan is like in dog years. I'm like 157 years old if I would have stayed with being a Lions fan that way. But man, Lions fans right now, it's something else. Yeah, look, here's the recipe for the upset. If Michigan's defense can play their best game of the year, if they can play like they did in the first half against USC, or the final drive against USC, or the first half against Minnesota, well, to me, that's going to be the starting point. You're going to have the defense hang in there. I don't think the offense, even if they're clicking, is going to score over 30 points. So the defense is going to show up and play their best game of the year. Davis Warren, you say he can't commit a turnover. It feels like that. It feels like if he threw one pick, it's like, here we go again. It's going to be the Davis Warren, where then he just throws 3 like he did against Arkansas State, or just back to, being the game being too fast, or he's a deer in the headlights. There's something like that. Although we do know it's not over, it's just going to feel like it if he throws an interception. Can he play his best game of the year? Can Orji come in and be a factor in the run game like he was last week? So there's 3 things. There's 3 things. Can the defense play its best game of the year? Can Warren play his best game of the year? Can Orji run like he did last week and be a factor in the run game? Those 3 things. And then Michigan's offense in total. Can Mullings and Edwards, 2 excellent backs, can they control the clock and control the ground game, keep the defense fresh? People talk about complementary football, all of those things. Can Michigan run the ball and play physical with Oregon? And can the defense have their best game of the year? I know that's a lot talking about. So can I boil it down more? Can Michigan play their best game of the year Saturday against Oregon? And that includes, everything, obviously playing their best game of the year. It's going to take their best game of the year. But I think it will be, if Michigan came out on top, the things that we will talk about will be Michigan being able to have a great day on the ground. That's what I think it's going to take, number 1. And then number 2 is that you'll say, man, there's the playmakers. There's the ability to create turnovers and take it the distance and put the offense in good situations so that Michigan can then stay ahead of the chains and have good field position. That's what it's going to take. You say that about everyone's like, oh, thanks. That's going to take Michigan's best game of the year. That's it. What else do you want to know? Hey, that's it. Don't hit your head or with the other player's head. Basic responsible safety measure. Sure. Scott says Loveland could have handled it better. Yeah, walk away when somebody, that would have probably been the best way. I agree with you. Could have been best. But I'm not on him. When the game's over and then somebody comes up and smacks you upside the head, hey, I don't condone fighting and, pushing and shoving, but it can happen. I'm rooting for Penn State too, but I'm picking Ohio State 17-10. Protect yourself at all time. A couple more here. Yeah, Jaden can play in 4 games. Look, I don't think that he's ready to play college football. Not about preserving his red shirt. It's about him just being not ready physically. If I feel like he's not mentally ready with things that have been said, and I don't know, that's just, again, me giving it a guess. Davis isn't ready to play college football as a freshman this year. Now that happens with a lot of freshmen. Oh, there's a million things that could go on. You got to get acclimated with school. He's up north, the college for the first time, being homesick, throwing the ball at a side angle, not having the zip on him, being too short, not strong enough. I mean, I don't know. All those things. I would say it will be very surprising to me if you see anything except Davis taking a snap in the last couple seconds just to get him out there. But in no situation where, even if the game is lopsided, other than him, coming in and having a handoff. I don't think Jaden Davis will throw a pass for Michigan this year. That would be my prediction as I sit here. It's not something I want. I'm just trying to tell you what I think about it. So I wouldn't expect it if I was you. Don says, what happens if we miss on Davis and then Carter Smith goes elsewhere? What happens if you miss on Underwood, you're saying? Yeah, right. I you go to the portal is what you do. And maybe you go to the portal twice. That's what happens if you're going on. I mean, it's happening. Calvin is talking about voting. What I'll tell you about voting, Calvin, is, what was it, Monday? Monday, I stopped by the, I don't know what it is, Civic Center there in Dexter, usually where I take my recyclables. And I walked in and I said, I'd like a ballot. Lady said, gave me a form. I had to sign my name and I put an email. And within about 2 minutes, she came up and handed me an envelope, absentee ballot. It took 2 minutes. I walked out, I was in my car. I was home. I've got it. I don't have it here with me. But I'm like, that was the easiest thing. Why would I not do that every single time for the rest of my life? Like, I've gone up there and, hey, half hours on it gets to be an hour, you kind of sitting around, everything else. But, you feel good after you do it, everything else. But this is pretty easy, I got to say, Calvin, with how it went down. Thomas says, why does point spread matter? What you think Vegas knows anything? They picked OSU the last 3 years. Yeah, that's not true, Thomas. Michigan was a 6-point favorite last year against Ohio State. Now, the previous 2 years, the 22-year, Ohio State was at home. Both teams were undefeated. I could understand why Ohio State would have been the favorite. And then, the year before that, Michigan had lost, 7, 8 in a row. How many ever out of 16? It's incredible. Ohio State totally dominating the rivalry and had a great team. Had C.J. Stroud and Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave. I mean, yeah, there's a point that Vegas doesn't know everything, but, it's just a guide like anything else. That's it. Michigan's a gigantic underdog, whether it's 15, 16, anything else. It just kind of helps with there's Luther. He's in there with you. Let's go. Scott, you want me to talk about Mitch Albom? Well, there's another really good example. I think, Mitch is like Mitch doesn't need to be a journalist. Mitch is a fiction writer, but he started in sports and he's like to the very top of the game. And then his fiction writing, I've read 4 or 5 of his first books. They're all great, easy reading, real easy turn pagers. I kind of stopped after a while. I don't know, maybe, but he, he crossed the ethical line, made something up. People didn't care. And Mitch doesn't. I don't think he roots for any team. He's roots for himself, and he's one of those guys that makes more money than the coaches and the players all put together. So he's kind of got that cachet. I've seen him at different Lions games, and he's walking in with a bag of his books, and people are coming up wanting his autograph, and he's got 10 books signed for anyone and everyone. So he's something else. But yeah, I mean he's. Mitch, should he have been fired? The late Drew Sharp, plagiarizing, whatever else. Mostly people they just want to be entertained. Let's just say it like it is. So entertained. We're down to the point we're going to say three more. Ewell. I'm late, but the MSU player was moving towards Loveland, and Loveland met him face to face. Yeah, I've gone over after everything that's gone in there, what I said on Monday, and where I'm at right now. Uh, Anthony Jones, number 8 for Michigan State. The etiquette on the final play when you have no timeouts and no ability to stop the clock, and the other team just has to kneel down. Most of the time, you just let them snap the ball. Now, it's a rivalry. You want to get in there and try to go at the ball, and, you want to. It's going to tick the other team off. There's going to be pushing and shoving after that. So you know that, even if you're just diving at the ball, lunging at the ball, or submarining, if you are not even doing that, but you're just going into your opposite number, and then you have hands to the face, which is a penalty, you can expect that somebody's going to come back at you. That's what you're doing. You're saying, I want to fight. I want to. The game is over for all practical reasons, but I want to continue this after. I put it into it being Bush League. I've seen it happen a bunch of times. I like to have the sideline remain with some integrity, because if you get 50 people out there like it was for Michigan, and there's you get and then things can spark. And because what we have seen is that Michigan State, and I'll just put Michigan in there too, even though it's however you want to look at it. Animosity with the rivalry, these guys have not been able to handle things. You almost have to set up a bunch of guardrails and rules and police and holding people by the hands just so you can get them off the field and into their locker rooms without anything happening, because now that we've seen it, they can't handle it. I say they. State couldn't handle it on Saturday, but it didn't take much for Michigan to provoke them. I had to go back to start talking tunnel nonsense. There it is. Can we hire Indiana's portal scout to find O'Rourke too? Well, Michigan has was Sean McGee as their general manager, and that's his job. His job, and where did O'Rourke come from? The MAC is to watch all of these MAC games, watch all of these Group of Five or whatever they're called right now, watch any of the Power Four or the two teams that are in the old Pac-10, 12, and the lower tier teams. And it's watching all of these guys, and I would imagine that they've got a list of 10, 20 quarterbacks right now that they'll be targeting, and they'll have to whittle that down, and then who they're going after. Are they already making overtures to them? I'm not sure about that. Are they sliding into D? I don't know. Do all these guys have agents, the ones, and things can change. How you play from here, let's say you're you're in the MAC, and you're doing all right. MAC have been beating up each other. They're telling me I've got a Facebook problem. Okay, thanks. The point here is, Mark, is that I get your point. That's what Michigan's going to – they need their O'Rourke for sure, or their Dylan Gabriel, or their Will Howard. That's it. I said three more and I forgot. I think that was two. So I got a last one. Let's see if anybody else is in here that was last. We'll come back to Mark. Why did Sharon have Loveland on the field? That's offensive line, extra point, style of play. Answering it myself would be, I would say what Rico's saying. You want to be on the field for the final snap in a rivalry game. Yeah, the people being on the field for being in victory formation, it means something. But I think it was Scar said in the future, Sharon, talk to Sharon Moore or talk to Jonathan Smith on the field before and say, look, if the game's over and there's no way to stop, I'm not going to have my guys rush. I'm going to tell you that. And if Jonathan Smith says, cool, we'll do that too. All right. If not, well, then Sharon says, yeah, let's put our jumbo package out there. Let's put our ballers. Let's put our brawlers. No, I guess we don't want that. Just get this snap and get out of here kind of thing. That's it. And that is going to do it for today. Coming up on Thursday, where things that can make you entertain you more or can help you get through the Michigan football season, the rest of college football before a Michigan game. Yeah, I think watching Ohio State, Penn State is going to be in order for me on Saturday. What else? It's not going to be the Pistons or the Red Wings right now. So the Lions on Sunday, that's going to be something that can help along with this particular season. So that's it. All right. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll talk with you on Friday. Basketball opens up on Monday, so we'll have some football and basketball. There's another thing. Other Michigan sports. Hey, Dusty May, pour yourself into the basketball team. See how that goes. But Michigan with a chance to see what they're made of on Saturday and prove Vegas and any naysayers wrong and come up with an outstanding victory. They've got a shot. Let's see if they're able to do it. Thanks so much for subscribing to this podcast. If you want to put any comments anywhere, you listen to the podcast, all of those things are appreciated. Till Friday, have yourself a great couple days, and we'll talk with you on a Football Friday.